Welcome to the CCEE Distance Learning Consortium Hot Topic Series. My name is Jennifer Gately, and I am your facilitator today from San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools. In this Hot Topic Series, Session 1, we will be exploring how to establish a foundation for distance learning together with our families. Here are the session topics that we will be reviewing today as we explore Session 1. First, we will look at engaging parents as true partners in distance learning. Second, we will be exploring how to define distance learning so that it's understandable to the families that we are working with. And third, we will look at the basic guidelines for successful distance learning in the home. As we engage in this series and future series, you will see that each topic follows a very simple why, what, and how format as we explore these session topics of distance learning together. When we look at the factors to student success in distance learning, one thing becomes very clear. Parents are an integral component of the school partnership. I love this quote from Jane D. Hull that says, at the end of the day, the most overwhelming key to a child's success is the positive involvement in parents. So families, as we explore distance learning, we know that that begins with you. As we talk about distance learning in the home, we know that this is a lot of new terminology for all of us. So I want to begin today by defining a few key terms for our schools and our families so that as we begin this journey together, we're all on the same page of understanding. First of all, let's talk about distance learning. Distance learning is instruction where the student and the teacher are not in the same immediate location. Oftentimes the gap between where the classroom was and where the classroom now is bridged between technology so that time and space are no longer barriers to teachers and students working together. So as we look at distance learning, we also often hear two terms that follow that, asynchronous and synchronous. So let's first dive into synchronous as we hear this term a lot. When we look at distance learning in an asynchronous model, asynchronous learning involves students learning at their own pace through their own assignments and activities that are provided by the teacher. This might include the use of videos or audio materials or pre-recorded lessons or assignments that students are to work through independently on their own time. Now let's talk about synchronous distance learning. When we explore the idea of synchronous learning, this is the time when students are engaged together with their teacher. They are in the same virtual space together. So this might include the use of learning platforms and videos or video conferencing so that the teacher and the student have access to one another in live time as they're engaging in that classroom learning time together. Now that we understand the foundations and the key terms of distance learning, let's take a little further exploration into how the basics of distance learning are established in the home. When transitioning to distance learning, it is essential to, first of all, manage your home learning environment. Now, this is often easier said than done as we realize that many students and families' homes are as different as the students and families that are living in them. But there are some key ideas that do help to establish a manageable home environment that supports learning for all students. First of all, let's think about the idea of establishing predictable routines. These routines give our students safety in their day. It gives our students a sense of expectancy so that they know when it is time to learn, when it is time to play, when it is time to rest, when it is time to work. That there is a schedule in the day from morning wake-up time to the end of the day that supports students in everything that they do. Second of all, we know that creating a suitable learning environment is essential for all students. And again, that involves looking at your home environment and determining what is the best place and space for your students to engage in distance learning together. Do they have the materials accessible to them that they need? Do they have proximity to someone that might be available to supervise their learning? Or for our older students, enough space where they have the independence and autonomy to learn independently on their own. But do they have a space where students know, now that I am in this place, it is now time for me to engage in learning? Third, do we have a way to understand the learning management system as a key resource in the home environment for distance learning? Parents, do you have a tool that allows you to engage with the teachers via email, via text application, or via a learning management system so that you know how students are engaging in their distance learning day, what their progress is in those assignments, and how to communicate with someone if additional support is needed? And finally, in your home environment, is there a way to monitor and manage screen time? We're going to be talking in future sessions about the opportunities for distance learning to not be so screen heavy, but we do know during those synchronous learning times that there is quite a lot of that is engaging with the teacher through a virtual format. And so how are you involving in your school day a schedule that allows for all students to have access to the technology and the device that they need to engage with instruction? And when is that screen time involved in learning? And when is it more recreational? So keeping in mind these four key components can help you to manage your home environment so that you're truly ready for successful distance learning. Okay, moving on, number two, another idea in creating a foundation of successful distance learning in your home is ensuring that you have clear communication between your home and school. This was a priority back in the days of traditional learning, and it continues to be just as valuable as we transition now to distance learning. So knowing and supporting what is expected between your teacher and your student. Modeling distance learning behaviors. And you can see an example on the right in this graphic that as our families are often engaging together in distance learning with their students, are they being a role model to be on time, to be present with the teacher, to wait for the session to begin or for their time to talk or to be prepared? Those simple behaviors that were present in the classroom are just as important away from the classroom as well. Maintaining open and frequent communication with the teacher, knowing when and how is the best way to communicate with the teacher to discuss your child's needs, your child's progress, and what support may be needed for distance learning in the home. Being informed about your child's learning at the beginning and on the duration of distance learning. Do you know what is expected of your child from daily assignments to assessments and quizzes to completing special projects or activities? Do you know what is asked of your child and how to get additional support when needed from your child's teacher? And finally, most importantly, believing in your child and believing in their teacher. This is a new and sometimes difficult journey for all of us, and students will definitely follow the lead of the parents in the home. So working together to recognize that this is a process, and that there are those days that are more challenging than others, but we are certainly all here for the benefit of your students, and we want to work together to see that everyone is successful. And finally, the third one, as we look at establishing distance learning at home, most importantly is to prioritize self-care for everyone, from the students to the families to the other siblings and family members that may be in the home as well. Bringing a learning environment from school into your home does create an impact on the family, and we recognize that. And it's our goal in distance learning to not only take care of our students, but to take care of the adults that are supporting our students at home as well. So implementing a consistent sleep schedule when the day seems different than the day used to be. How can we control those factors that help to create a consistent schedule for students? And so making sure that students have sufficient sleep is essential. As we take care of those other aspects of physical safety, making sure that students have adequate nutrition and a balanced diet, that they maintain daily physical activity and breaks in between their learning time, and most importantly, that we find a way to support not only our students, but our adults in developing a sense of personal peace and self-awareness so that stress and the rigors of the day become manageable and they don't impact the personal well-being of the students or the families in the home during distance learning. In summary, the success of a student's distance learning is not about where learning takes place, but rather the relationships and the structures that are created to support distance learning in the home. As we complete this series, session number 1 of distance learning, I invite you to continue this conversation to create your own distance learning space at home by looking at some examples of some tasks that might be a factor to your child's success in distance learning this school year. This now brings session 1 to a close, and we invite you to continue with us on this journey as we begin session 2 and we look at addressing equity in distance learning.